Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, the grand preview for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Here we are back at Bahrain again. It only feels like a mere 6 weeks ago that we were here for testing. We are now back for the proper race. We'll get into all the preview things as usual in just one moment. Before we do that, remember to like and subscribe. And a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, The Joyous James, Robin Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, F, Edam on Sandwiches, and our newest member, Mr. Eurovision 1986. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description down below, both on the Patreon and on the YouTube. Right, there we go. That's out of the way. Said thank you to the members, the fantastic members. Now, there is some bad news. Before we start the general news, there's some bad news that we have to address before anything else of the preview. Last week, in Japan, we celebrated the return of everyone's favourite segment, Special Helmet Street. The people rejoiced in the streets. They loved it. It was a great time. We were like, finally, it's back. It brings me no pleasure to say that this weekend there is no Special Helmet Street. And you know what? I understand that a few of you will be upset at me because of this, but realistically, it's not my fault. It's the F1 driver's fault. Not one F1 driver has turned up with a special helmet this week for the Bahrain Grand Prix. So I cannot talk about it. So there will be no Special Helmet Street this week. But have no fear. We still have Upgrade Corner, we still have Free Practice Roundup, we still have all the news of the week, and we will still make our 2 predictions at the end of the video, and of course, my predictions have never, ever been wrong. So there's still a lot to come here in this preview video. By the way, the Free Practice Roundup is the name of that segment. I hate it. I hate that name. I think it's rubbish. You know, we go from Upgrade Corner, Special Helmet Street, sometimes we have a Special Livery Cul-de-sac. It's all fun names. And then the name I came up for Free Practice Roundup is Free Practice Roundup? Awful name. I'll work on it. Give me time. But let's get into the news, starting with looking back at the Japanese Grand Prix last weekend, which of course Max Verstappen took the win there in the special white liveried Red Bull. And what was quite interesting coming out of that weekend was that the white livery Red Bull was actually a wrap. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of expert on how painting these Formula 1 cars go, but my understanding was that the majority of the time, if you have a special livery, it is just painted onto the car like a normal livery would be. But for the white Red Bull, what we actually had was this. If you have a look here on the screen, we can see the white livery as a wrap being peeled off the car after the race, with the normal traditional Red Bull livery underneath. Now, what this could be is because, of course, we have a triple header of Japan and Bahrain this weekend, then going on to Saudi. Maybe it's just because, they can't take the car back to the factory, change all things round. This is the quickest way to do it. But there's a few things here. Firstly, some people raise questions of, does that mean the car was actually heavier? And the answer seems to be no. They probably would have taken some weight out of the ballast, and it would have equaled out, and we would have all been fine. So it would not like the car was heavier and still won. But using my media degree now, putting my media degree to good effort here, it's like a beautiful story, because up till that point in the championship, the Red Bull hadn't seemed to be itself, It wasn't really on level with the McLaren. It hadn't been the world beast that it had been in the past. It turned up this weekend, had a special livery, and it won. But it turned out, inside the car was the traditional, normal livery all along. I'm trying to think of something to compare it to, and the only thing I can compare it to in my head is that bit in Harry Potter and, is it the Half-Blood Prince? Where Ron's trying out to be the keeper of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, and Harry pretends to give him the liquid luck potion, but didn't actually. So Ron thinks that he plays well because of the liquid luck potion, but he actually played well because he believed in himself. And that's what happened to Red Bull. they had this special livery, but deep down inside, it was the same car it's always been. You know? We just had to believe. Isn't that magical? A magical way to kick off this weekend. Because let me tell you, Red Bull are going to need a hell of a lot of belief if they're going to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. More on that in a little bit. Back to the news, and an interesting statistic here, which isn't necessarily news, but looking at Lewis Hamilton. Because if we look at the championship right now, Lewis Hamilton trails Lando Norris by 47 points, Lando Norris being the championship leader. Which means, if Lewis Hamilton eventually becomes the 2025 Formula One World Champion, he will have to overturn the biggest points deficit ever. Because Max Verstappen's current record is 46 points. Lewis currently now on 47. Only 3 races in is 47 points behind the championship leader. So, if he does it, it's another record there for Lewis Hamilton. We did a video a couple of weeks ago, the top 10 worst starts to championship winning F1 seasons ever. You should watch that. Great video. And what we did in that video is we took older seasons with different point scoring systems and converted them to the modern ones. And it turns out Max Verstappen's record of 46 points is not the biggest deficit ever overturned. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't think it was even in the top 3. So, technically, bigger point deficits have been overturned before. So it is possible, but it's only ever happened 3 times in Formula One history at the most. So it is still possible that Lewis Hamilton could become world champion. And what you've got to remember is we have more races than ever this year. So it's still possible, but it's a hell of a mountain to climb for Lewis Hamilton to get the 8th world title in his first season of Ferrari. Ferrari have bought a lot of upgrades this weekend, but so far they haven't really done anything. Looking outside the world of Formula One now to the world of World Endurance Championship, because McLaren this week have announced that they're not happy, just being really good at Formula One at the minute. They're not happy with also being an IndyCar. They are going back to the world of World Endurance Championship in the hypercar class in 2027, which means that's another Formula One team entering the world of WEC. Aston Martin will be joining this year. Ferrari are already in WEC. They returned a few years ago. Alpine are in WEC. Who else is going? Ford will be in there in 2027. And by that time, Ford will be a engine supplier for Formula One alongside Red Bull. So the Formula One teams continue to invade the world of WEC. We will see how they do going from there. But yes, 2027, McLaren back competing at Le Mans, back competing in WEC. It's been another bad week for Mohammed Ben Sulayem, because the Deputy President of the FIA, Robert Reid, has resigned with immediate effect. We have the statement he put out right here. If I can find it, here it is. Stating, after deep reflection, I have made the difficult decision to resign as FIA Deputy President for Sport. I took on this role to help deliver greater transparency, stronger governance, and more collaborative leadership. Over time, those principles have been increasingly set aside, and I can no longer, in good faith, remain part of the system that no longer reflects them. Stepping away was not easy, however, staying would have meant compromising what I believe in. This is about principles, not politics. Most sport deserves leadership rooted in integrity, accountability, and respect for processes. That's the minimum standard we should all expect and demand. He did also go on to say a couple more things which weren't in his initial statement. He claimed that he had witnessed a steady erosion of the principles we promised to uphold, and decisions are being made behind closed doors, bypassing the very structures and people the FIA exists to present. Robert Reid came on board as Deputy President in 2021 and has left this week. And I'm not going to pretend that I'd heard of Robert Reid before this week, because I hadn't. I'd never heard of him before in my life. I don't know if he was any good as president. I don't know if he was... as vice president. I don't know if he was bad. I don't know what he did, ever. But what I can tell you is this is not good for Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who continues to have bad week after bad week after bad week. And in a year in which he is going to have to be re-elected, if he has some opposition, and the rumour mill suggests that opposition is Susie Wolf, I think he would lose. But he is trying his very hardest to stay the president, which is why the rumours of the V10s have started again. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He said he wants to bring back V10s. Apparently there was an emergency meeting with the team principals today with Mohammed Ben Sulayem discussing V10s, and no one really seemed swayed. He hasn't made any friends in his time as president because he hasn't been very good. So I think people just want him gone. And Robert Reid is a man who I think can see the ship sinking and is going to jump on that lifeboat before he hits the icy, icy waters of the ocean. It's like poetry. It rhymes. And before we get on to Upgrade Corner and all the rest, I think it's interesting to read this quote here from Carlos Sainz. Now, Carlos Sainz has been the driver I think I've been the most disappointed with so far this year. I think Sainz is an incredible talent, has proved it time and time again, but so far in the Williams, it hasn't gone according to plan. He scored 1 point so far from the first 3 race weekends, whilst his teammate Alex Albon is currently beating Lewis Hamilton in the drivers' standings. Sainz has been asked about this, and has asked how long it would take him to get back to his best. This is the quote he gave. "I just need to make sure now we do less mistakes and keep my speed, as I believe we can improve it a little bit. But we are not as far away as it seems. Here in testing, I felt very comfortable with the car, which bodes well. Sometimes you jump in the car and you're naturally quick. The pace comes easily. I felt that in Abu Dhabi post-test and in Bahrain. Then we went to Australia and the car felt completely different, and you are a bit stuck with what you do now. It takes time, it takes experience, it takes races. I'm calm, I'm happy, and we are getting there." So, Carlos Sainz, obviously fully aware that the results have not been great for him thus far, but seems confident that he will get back there. And what I always say with people who move teams or with rookies is I like to give them 5 or 6 races. That's normally how I feel. That's the length of time it takes for a driver to become fully comfortable with a car. We're at race 4. So he still has a couple races to go before I'm properly calling him out, but hopefully things are heading in the right direction for the smooth operator. Right, upgrade corner time now, and surprisingly, only 4 teams have brought upgrades this weekend, which is kind of surprising but kind of not. Kind of not, because it is that triple header, and they're all over the place, so that makes sense. But also, we had testing here a few weeks ago. This is the track that the teams have the most data on out of all the tracks on our calendar. You'd think, maybe given that time between testing and now, they could go and get something like maybe even specifically for this weekend to go, right, this is what our data says will work here quite well. But no, only 4 teams, only 1 team has brought a substantial upgrade package, that being Ferrari. Ferrari have brought basically an entirely new floor. New floor fences, floor body, floor edge, as well as a new rear diffuser and rear wing. McLaren have brought a new front corner, Red Bull new front wing and cooling loops, and engine cover for Haas. Sorry, I said that so badly. For Red Bull, front wing and cooling loops, Haas engine cover. There you go. So, huge upgrade package coming onto Ferrari. And what does that mean for them? Have they unlocked this massive amount of speed thus far this weekend? No. So, FP1, Lando Norris topped the session. In a shocking twist, Pierre Gasly was second. Lewis Hamilton in third place, Albon 4th with Esteban Ocon in 5th. It was a weird session where a lot of the drivers complained about the lack of grip and overall just the massive amounts of heat. You had someone like Kimi Antonelli who had a massive engine issue. I think, was it, who else was it who had an engine issue? Someone else did. I can't remember. Was it an Aston? I can't remember. There was another engine issue as well. I can't remember who it was. It was a Mercedes engine, but I can't remember who. Also, McLaren broke the curfew last night because apparently they also had engine issues. So 3 Mercedes engines have had issues over the past 24 hours, which is a slight bit concerning. If we go to FP2, this shows us a bit more, gives us a bit more information about where we truly are this weekend. And if you're not a fan of McLaren, it's not good reading for you. If you are a fan of McLaren, my goodness, this looks fantastic for you because they dominated this session. So there was a point where they went for the changeover from the medium/hard tyres over to the soft in a qualifying type run. And they came out and the Ferraris did okay. Bortoleto did okay. Then Max Verstappen came out and decimated those times. We're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Max Verstappen's here. He's setting a good time. Let's see what this is all about. Fantastic stuff. And then immediately after Max Verstappen set the time, the McLaren set a time. And I think Lando Norris's first lap time beats Max Verstappen's time by 7/10 of a second. McLaren are in another world this weekend. They are unbelievable. So at the end of it, Oscar Piastri topped FP2. Lando Norris was second, a tenth and a half behind. George Russell was third, 5/10 off of Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc was fourth. Kimi Antonelli was fifth. Then, so strange, makes no sense, Isaac Hadjar, sixth, on medium tyres. The only time of FP2, at the end of it, on medium tyres, was Isaac Hadjar, who was faster than any other Red Bull affiliated car in sixth. Isaac Hadjar continues to be a mystery. Max Verstappen was 7th, Lewis Hamilton in 8th, Ollie Behrman 9th, Carlos Sainz 10th, Alex Albon in 11th, Liam Lawson 12th, Bortoleto 13th, Doohan 14th, Alonso 15th, Ocon 16th, Gasly 17th, Yuki Tsunoda down in 18th, Lance Stroll 19th, Neil Hulkenberg 20th. Charles Leclerc's time to put himself 4th came quite late at the end because towards the end of the session, for the majority of it, it was the 2 McLarens followed by the 2 Mercedes. So Leclerc jumped up a little bit towards the end there. Which brings us onto our predictions. And I think I'm going to title this video like, can anyone stop Mr. McLaren this weekend? And my answer is no. They are so fast. It is unbelievable how quick they are. So my first prediction for the weekend is a McLaren Grand Slam. I don't mean that in terms of just one of their drivers will have a Grand Slam. I think the team in general will have a Grand Slam, if a team Grand Slam is even a thing. I think they will lock out the front row. I think they will finish 1-2. I think they will have the fastest lap. I think they will lead every single lap, will be led by at least one of the McLaren cars. They will decimate the field this weekend. I can't tell you which McLaren's going to win, because thus far, Piastri looks a little bit quicker than the two of them, but it's very, very close. So I don't know which one's going to win, but that team will dominate this weekend. I think, again, their closest competition will be Mercedes, but this time last weekend, I also said their closest competition was Mercedes, and they messed it up. But if we walked away from this weekend with Kimi Antonelli's first ever podium, I wouldn't be too shocked. If I was to predict the podium right now, I'd say Norris, Piastri, Antonelli is my podium prediction. But that's not my official prediction. My official prediction is the McLaren Constructors Grand Slam. My second prediction of the weekend is after McLaren have decimated the field and destroyed everyone, in the press conferences afterwards, Lando Norris will insist they do not have the fastest car and their car is actually not very quick at all. Because that just seems to be what he's doing at the minute. Every interview he just goes, no, it's not quick. It's really slow. It's such a bad car. It's really... Last weekend, I cut a hole in the floor and drove it like a Flintstones car with my feet. That's how bad it was. It's an awful car. Oh, you wouldn't want to drive it. You wouldn't want to drive it. Oh, it stabs you. It stabs you in the side whilst you drive. It's awful. What a bad car. The worst car I've ever driven. You know, you put it in first and it actually automatically puts itself in reverse. It wants to go backwards. It's such a bad car. Oh my goodness. Oh, the wheels aren't even attached. It's the worst car. It's so bad. Oh my god. I'd rather be in a Sauber. I really, really would. It's so hard to drive. It's such a hard time. It doesn't even have a radio. And, he'll go on that kind of thing. That's what he seems to do at the minute. I imagine, it's understandable because he's building himself up, isn't he? He doesn't want people, he doesn't want to come and go, oh yeah, the car was the fastest ever been. The only reason I won was because the car was so fast. My goodness, it was nothing to do with me. Of course, he wants to say the car's not good, I'm good, which is understandable. But, he also has got the fastest car by quite some margin. But he's only leading the championship by 1 point right now. That will change by the end of the weekend. He'll have a few more points. But can Piastri take the lead of the championship this weekend? Let's have a look. Oscar Piastri is on 49 points. Lando Norris is on 62. So that is a difference of 13. So you'd need Lando Norris to massively mess up to lose the championship lead to Oscar Piastri. But he could maybe have a little cutaway at that points deficit as we sit here right now. So there you go. That is my predictions and the preview for the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend. We have loads of stuff coming on the channel this weekend because not only is it F1, but F2 is here, as is F3. Hopefully F2 will actually have 2 races this weekend, which will be nice. So coverage of all of that across the weekend. Then driver ratings on the Monday. And Tuesday, we are back for the retro review of 1981. You know what? When I was writing and editing and putting together the retro review of 1981, it was a creative process of trying to find out what the series was really all about. And I think the first episode where I first fully understood what the entire thing was all about was the Belgian Grand Prix episode, which came out last Tuesday. That's the first episode I put out. I'm really happy with that one. So if you haven't watched that, go check that one out as well, because that is a good time. Apart from that, we're back tomorrow for all things qualifying. We'll have the F1, F2, and F3 on Sunday, driver ratings on the Monday, retro reviews of 1981, the Monaco Grand Prix on Tuesday. All that to come later on the channel. I will see you then. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.